As Russian forces continue to batter Ukraine's forces with advanced weaponry and growing advances in the region, the global cry for providing more aid to Ukraine has seemed to found a new face. British Foreign Secretary David Cameron is on a visit to US to gather more support for the Ukraine's defense abilities. Cameron, after meeting with US's Secretary of State Antony Blinken, urged Congress on Tuesday to approve new military aid for Ukraine, saying the stalled funding is critical for US, European, and world security. Cameron also said that he believes US is great friend, and he is a firm believer in this country.
And I come here with no intention to lecture anybody or tell anybody what to do or get in the way of the process of politics and other things in the United States. I just come here as a great friend and believer in this country. We know what's right for us. We know that it is right to stop Putin's aggression. We know it's right for our own militaries and our own production bases to ramp up production, not just for Ukraine, but for our own stocks.
Speaking after, Blinken repeated long-standing appeals for lawmakers to unblock the assistance that President Joe Biden has sought for months.
We also talked about the imperative of getting assistance to Ukraine now in terms of additional munitions, air defenses, artillery. We both heard last week from the Ukrainian Foreign Minister Kuleba at NATO about the immediate needs. Both of our countries are pressing ourselves and pressing others to do this. And in that light, the supplemental budget request that President Biden has made of Congress is urgent and it's imperative. House is now back in session. We look to see that brought before the House and to get a vote as quickly as possible.
The Pentagon scraped together about $300 million in ammunition to send to Kyiv in March, but cannot send more without Congress's support. And a separate $60 billion supplemental bill that would fund those efforts has been stalled for months. U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin testified on Capitol Hill on Tuesday about the Pentagon's $850 billion budget for 2025 and explained why America can't walk away from helping Ukraine in this hour.
And Putin is betting that the United States will falter and abandon our friends and leave Ukraine in mortal danger. If the Kremlin prevails in Ukraine, it would embolden would-be aggressors around the globe. The United States would be far less secure if Putin got his way in Ukraine. And President Biden has warned that Putin will not stop at Ukraine. If America walked away, we would put the free world in peril and risk unimaginable cost and dangers.
The verbal fireworks over the Russia-Ukraine war continue as there are literal fireworks are increasing on the ground with each passing day. Day in, day out, Russian forces are deploying most advanced and lethal machinery in its pursuit to defeat Ukraine. Recent footage released by the Russian army shows another lethal weapon shmel, the handheld flamethrower targeting Ukraine's troops. Assault units of Russia's 1st Guards Tank Army of the West Group of Forces during a special military operation struck Ukrainian troops in the Kupiansk direction. Soldiers from a platoon of light flamethrowers were tasked with attacking camouflaged, fortified enemy strongholds in a forest belt along the path of Russian armored vehicles. As per the Russian army, the flamethrower platoon was divided into cover and attack subgroups based on the received coordinates. In the video, the flamethrowers secretly moved to a firing position several hundred meters away, with a cover group providing a retreat. The folds of the terrain and low, dense growth created conditions for targeted shooting from rpo-a shmel handheld flamethrowers. Flamethrowers from different firing points destroyed the camouflaged fortified strongholds of the Ukrainian armed forces using thermobaric ammunition. While the flamethrowers managed Kupiansk direction, it was Su-25 in the Severodonetsk direction. The attack aircraft of the Russian aerospace forces destroyed a Ukrainian armed forces stronghold in the air defense zone. A Russian aircraft carried out a strike with unguided aircraft missiles on strongholds and manpower of Ukrainian troops in the Severodonetsk direction in the zone. After using aircraft weapons, the crews performed an anti-missile maneuver, released heat traps, and returned to the departure airfield. According to the reports of the forward aircraft gunner, all of the indicated targets were successfully hit. The flight went as usual. Engineering and technical specialists completed the tasks of maintaining aircraft and preparing aircraft for a second combat mission. In the Artyomovsk direction, crews of a multiple launch rocket systems MLRS grad of Russia's 4th Separate Motorized Rifle Brigade destroyed camouflaged positions, strong points, and a concentration of personnel of Ukrainian armed forces units. The artillery soldiers of the Motorized Rifle Brigade, upon receiving coordinates from the reconnaissance group, secretly arrived at the firing positions. Having deployed the combat vehicle from the traveling position to the combat position, they aimed the installation at the target and fired a salvo at the positions of the Ukrainian militants. Using the fire carousel tactics, Grad MLRS crews effectively destroy both area and single enemy targets at a range of more than 20 kilometers. From receiving the target to striking, the crew spends no more than 10 minutes. In the South Donetsk direction, Uragan MLRS crews of the Vostok group of troops wreaked havoc with 16 rockets. Crews of the Uragan multiple launch rocket systems of the artillery units of the Vostok group of forces inflicted fire damage on Ukraine's troops like never before. Reconnaissance of enemy targets and adjustment of rocket artillery fire is carried out using Orlan unmanned aerial vehicles equipped with modern optics, thermal images, and cameras with infrared illumination. This time, aerial reconnaissance discovered a concentration of enemy equipment. After leaving and deploying to the firing position, the crew aimed the MLRS at the target. Just a few minutes after receiving the target coordinates from the UAV, it is hit by a package of 16 rockets at a distance of over 30 kilometers, providing tangible support to the actions of assault units on the front line. At a time when Russian troops continue the rampage on multiple fronts targeting Ukraine, diplomacy also continues to deliver blows. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, on his last day of China's visit, criticized international talks on Ukraine that exclude Moscow, asserting Beijing's agreement on the ineffectiveness of such dialogues. He also derided Zelensky's so-called peace formula as divorced from reality.
With our Chinese colleagues, we confirmed the conclusion about futility of any international events, which not only do not take into account Russia's position, but completely ignore it, which promote an absolutely empty ultimatum, Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky's so-called peace formula, and thereby are completely detached from any realities.
Following discussions with Lavrov, China's Foreign Minister Wang Yi called for an immediate ceasefire in Ukraine and advocated for an internationally recognized peace summit inclusive of all relevant parties.
We hope to see a ceasefire and an end to the war soon. China supports the convening at an appropriate time of an international meeting that is recognized by both Russia and Ukraine, in which all parties can participate equally and discuss all peace solutions fairly.
Wang also emphasized the importance of nurturing the bilateral relationship between China and Russia, affirming their commitment to maintaining close ties.